Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. It means we're brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Our normal Tuesday guests headed your way. Sharief, Ishaq talking Saints in 15 minutes. Glen West talking Tigers. We'll focus a lot on baseball there at 1:30. Keith Carter says Ole Miss might sue LSU's players. And then LSU might be on the hook for that money. We'll talk about it at the end of hour number one. We'll continue our in-depth chart at wide receiver. At the top of hour number two, got a lot of wide receivers to talk about. There may be a spot for LSU to add to the basketball roster. This broke yesterday after our show was over. We'll discuss it in hour number two as well. So plenty to get to here. Thanks for being with us. Let's crank it up the way we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
We learned earlier today who all 16 teams will be taking to SEC Media Days, and I do believe I've got a pretty good handle on my audience in this respect. I don't believe to all of you that SEC Media Days is as impactful as it is to us here professionally. You are still enjoying your summer vacations. You are still going to the beach. You are still at the lake. Your kids are in camp. You're handling things in the summer, and football's not necessarily front and center for you in the middle of July. And I know that not all of you are locked in to Missouri football or care too much about teams that LSU's not going to play this year, like Georgia or South Carolina. I understand that Media Days is an interesting background noise thing for some of you. I do believe that a lot of you appreciate some of our content as far as the interviews that we do and some of the things that we'll bring you. But for us, it's a big week in the summer. It's a big week for content. It's a big week for social media. It's a big week for networking. It's an important week for us, probably a little bit more important than it is for you. And y'all are aware, I think if you listen to me with any sort of regularity, my thoughts on press conferences. I'm in the media business. I listen to press conferences. We take some context from those. We take some content from those, and we form our opinions and present the content that we can from that. But I oftentimes believe that coaches and players are trained to say nothing, that often speak in cliches and in coach speak and don't speak in reality. And oftentimes press conferences are not worth a whole heck of a lot. And we're about to go to an event where they have press conferences for 4 weeks straight. So this is not a situation where I've got this vitriolic reaction to LSU's three guests for SEC Media Days next week. I'm disappointed, but I don't think that LSU got it wrong. I think they just missed an opportunity. LSU is going to bring Whit Weeks, Trades Green, and TJ Daugherty to Media Days. Whit is an awesome dude. He's a great dude to be around. He's jovial. He's infectious. He's fun. He went to Media Day last year, and he'll light up some rooms with that big old smile and that country twang. Is he going to bring the house down with a lot of quotes? Probably not. But he'll put a smile on some media members' faces, and if they put him on the Feinbaum show or something, he'll really come through with some fun energy. Trades Green has a big old smile, and Trades Green loves to answer questions. Trades Green is not long-winded, is not going to give you deep, introspective answers. He's a surface-level guy. He's a hell of a player. So is Whit Weeks. But he's not going to be a headline grabber at SEC Media Days. And then TJ Daugherty is very well-spoken, and is a great player. He led the SEC in tackles last year. They played 15 games to get there, but he had a lot of tackles, played a heck of a game against Miami in the national semifinal, had like 14 tackles in that game. And he's going to be a leader on LSU's defense, and I think it says a lot that Lane Kiffin thinks enough of him after him being with the program for a year in Oxford to come on and to be in SEC Media Days at LSU where he hasn't played it down. But also, and this is something that's going to come up, so I don't feel bad talking about it. Like, TJ Daugherty was involved in an incident at Clemson that resulted in the dismissal of another player on that team, and that Lane Kiffin has repeatedly said TJ Daugherty was a victim of. And I have no reason not to believe that. I don't know every specific of what went on there, but there were some improprieties in the locker room, and it led to a dismissal, and TJ Daugherty moved along. And that's going to come up at SEC Media Days. Like, if you bring someone with that sort of incident that is public, that's going to come up. And it surprised me that LSU is going to do that. That already came up in Oxford, and it came up in Baton Rouge in spring ball. He answered the questions he was comfortable answering. He declined to answer the ones he didn't want to answer, and it ran its course in Baton Rouge. But it will come back up in Tampa next week. So I have no problem with any of these three as individual picks. I think that Trey'Dez Green has a chance to win the Mackey Award this year. I think he'd be a first-round pick, an All-American. I think he could be a key cog to a really good LSU team. And I think he's a fun guy to talk to. I think Whit Weeks is a heck of a player. I think he's got an infectious personality, and I think people will enjoy talking to him in Tampa. And TJ Daugherty is a heck of a player, does well in front of a microphone, and it says a lot about him being a leader. All that stuff is true, but I think you missed an opportunity. I think you missed an opportunity to bring your quarterback. And I don't know everything that goes into the discussions around who to bring to media days. I don't know how much say Lane Kiffin has. I don't know how much say Michael Bonnet has. I don't know how much say Dr. Tommy Karam has, who handles their media relations from a player perspective. Like, when we deal with here's how the media stuff works for football. We go to the interview room, and Michael Bonnet, the head sports information director there, tells us what players are coming, and he's in charge of that go-between. He also introduces the head coach at the Monday press luncheons and all that kind of stuff. He does media relations for LSU football. And then Dr. Tommy Karam, who's awesome. I took his class at LSU. Great guy. He works with the players on how to handle yourself in front of the media. And he's there for all those press conferences and does an awesome job as a media relations guy. He's also a great guy to talk to. But he also helps them get these guys ready for this week, because it's a grind for those guys for the whatever they are 5 hours that they're there. It's room to room to room to room to room, and the questions almost never stop. And they're coming from all angles, from all different kinds of people. And some players are more comfortable in front of cameras and not, and they're celebrities in those rooms in terms of media personalities that they got to talk to. And there's a lot for those guys, and they got to be ready for that. And so I don't know what goes into all of those discussions and ultimately who becomes. But I would just suggest that Sam Leavitt would be a benefit to LSU going to this event. He is a fourth-year college player. He is a 2-year starter who has made a start in the college football playoff. He has dealt with media. He is old and mature. I understand he got hurt last year. I understand that you're going to answer questions about his Liz Frank injury for 4 hours. I understand that he is a high-profile transfer and that there's likely going to be questions about NIL dollars that go his way. And there are some complicated things with him that maybe LSU doesn't want him to speak directly to at this point in the calendar. But I think he's savvy enough to handle those. Ankle feels great. Foot feels great. Had the pins removed during spring ball, running around, working 7-on-7 with my teammates, ready to go. It's just not a hard answer. Yeah, obviously, I was in the transfer portal, took some visits. Financial aspect is one of those things, and we took that very seriously, multiple different places, but we also weighed coaching and fit in a program and where we wanted to spend our final year in college, and LSU just felt like the place. Like, these are easy answers to come up with when you've got a week to prepare for this stuff. And I would just like for Sam Leavitt to kind of be the face of the program and go. Now, look, Garrett Nussmeier is the face of the program. He went to SC Media Days. He got hurt in August, and they had a bad year. Like, I'm not suggesting that this is going to impact LSU's season one way or another. And there's a part of me, candidly, that would like the first Sam Leavitt conversation that we've had since he became an LSU Tiger. He did not meet with the media in the spring, and I understand that. He's hurt and he's not practicing. Okay, don't bring him out. I mean, I would have, but you don't have to. And you don't have to in this instance either. I would just have liked to see LSU do that. I think he's a big storyline. I think he's got a chance to be the face of the program. I think it's not unreasonable to suggest that he could have a monster season that might catapult him into the Heisman running. Like, that's not out of the question. I don't think I'm betting on it, but it's certainly not out of the question. And I would have just liked to see Sam Leavitt go. I mentioned Bo Bordelon last week in my guesses. I mentioned Ty Benefield last week in my guesses. I went 0 for 3 on mine, which is inconsequential, and I was just throwing darts at a dartboard anyway. But I just wish that LSU would bring the quarterback to be the face of the program next week in Tampa, and the decision has been made not to do that. Not going to cost LSU a single point against Clemson, and perhaps Sam Leavitt's got an obligation next week that I'm completely unaware of. That's absolutely possible. But all things equal, if you're asking me from a content perspective and just from a representing LSU perspective, who would I like to see up there? The quarterback is generally going to fall into that no matter who it is year over year. So for Leavitt not to be going, I'm disappointed. Matt will probably tell you on his show later today that he thinks every school should take their quarterback. I'm not going to go that far. There are some schools that may have a quarterback controversy they don't want to expose in July, and there may be instances where that's not necessarily the case. But as a general practice, I'm on board with that. And I wish that LSU in this situation for a high-profile quarterback who is, in college football terms, a celebrity, who has been in the spotlight before, who has dealt with the media before, who should be the face of the operation, not to be going to Tampa is a bit of a bummer for me. But next Thursday in the morning, which is a good thing for us because we've got flights out on Thursday evening, we will get Whit Weeks, TJ Daugherty, and Trades Green in Tampa, Florida. That'll be the LSU caravan that will be headlined by Lane Kiffin. There's no doubt about that, and he'll be a huge draw. There's a reason that LSU is not going first this year, which LSU has gone first a lot of years in a row. LSU is oftentimes Monday morning of SEC Media Days. LSU is Thursday this year, and I believe that's because the SEC believes they can keep writers around as long as Lane Kiffin's in that building. So that's, I think, why the LSU has been selected to go last in this instance, and that's the case. So we'll hear from LSU a week from Thursday in Tampa, Florida. I'm really excited to get down there. I just wish Sam Leavitt was joining us. That's our kickoff here. It's our opening drive brought to you by Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Take a timeout. Sharief, Ishaq, talking Saints. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of Fabry Chevrolet GMC, why don't I tell you about them one more time? I'll actually tell you about them 2 more times throughout the rest of the show. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. I want to tell you about the Fabry family. Now, they've been at this for 35 years in the Baton Rouge community. 3 locations, 5 brands. Got this point almost a year ago October, for the Chevrolet GMC store, and they have just been thrilled with the way things have gone there in St. Francisville. For those of you who live maybe a little bit north of town in Zachary or Scotlandville area that have made the drive up, those of you who've made that quick drive up from Baton Rouge, they certainly appreciate it, and they know why, because the Fabry family's got such an unbelievable reputation in this town over the course of 3.5 decades. So if you're looking for a new Chevy, looking for a new GMC, or looking for a pre-owned vehicle, check them out online first at FabryChevrolet.com. You can sort by whatever it is that you're looking for, and then make that short drive to St. Francisville and get that wonderful customer service you get every time with the Fabry family. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC. They're online at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Back here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Thanks for hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll chat with Glen West of On 3 coming up in our next segment. A lot of baseball talk with Glen. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit of Saints. Their guy Sharief, Ishaq, WDSU in New Orleans, who I believe is still on vacation, but you don't have to give us some time on a Tuesday afternoon. How's it going, Sharief?
Still on vacation until next Monday or Tuesday. I don't even know.
Yeah, well, at this point, who cares? Who days are day? No, there's no day of the week on vacation. Are you? I know you do late night news when you're working. Like, do you sleep late when you do that, or do you still get up with the rest of us at 7 o'clock in the morning?
My sleep patterns are absolutely disgusting. Probably don't go to sleep until 1 o'clock. I wake up at like 7:30.
Okay.
So I get like 6 hours, maybe 7 at best.
That's enough. I mean, I get up at 5 every morning, so I'm usually in bed about 10:30. So we're on about the same page here. I want to talk Saints, but before we get that, I know you spent some time here in Baton Rouge, and I actually, with you, spent some time with Roger Cador, and didn't get a chance to ask you last week about about your memories of him. Coach Kador died, and there was a great celebration of his life here in Baton Rouge. You spent some time with Coach Kador. What are your memories of him?
He was awesome, legendary. I loved when he talked to me. Oh, Sharief. Every single time he saw me. For so many years, I covered LSU and Southern when I was at WAFB for the 3 years. And I enjoyed every single time going down and shooting near the dugout because Roger would just talk to me the whole game.
Yeah.
While a game was going on. It'd be an important game, but he's always got a story. He's always funny. I don't think I've ever seen him upset before. When he gets upset, it feels like he's like making a joke. So, larger than life, man. He was larger than life. I enjoyed every second of him. I cannot say one negative thing about Roger. Rogers was always embracing me and always open for anything when I was around the baseball program, and certainly will be missed.
Absolutely. He delivered one of the lines that I bring up all the time to you when they had a tough doubleheader, lost a couple games, and you were kind of asking, like, hey, how do you get over this and move forward? And he just looked you straight in the face and goes, Sharief, it doesn't really matter until the conference tournament.
Yep.
I thought that was just an all-timer, which is actually true, but you never hear a coach talk like that.
Yeah, I mean, he was right. I mean, I remember that like it's yesterday whenever you were out there and he told the stat. I just couldn't stop laughing when he said that.
Incredible stuff by an incredible man. Let's talk some Saints, Sharief. I'm going to leave an open-ended question to you. I did not prep you for this, so we'll see where it goes. What's the biggest question mark on this Saints team or in this Saints season that you would look at big picture in July? Because once we get into like the nitty gritty of training camp, we start getting into details and who did this day, who did that this. I want to go like big picture. Like, what's a question that you have about this Saints team?
Man, I'll go one on each side of the ball. To me, it's who is going to be reliable behind Travis Etienne. In my opinion, it's Travis Etienne and who's going to be able to carry the workload without getting hurt and making sure he gets the necessary blows off the field. And so he doesn't get overused and overexposed and make him a 17-game running back. So that would be my number one question. Is it Alvin? Is it Devin Neal? Is it Kendre Miller? I mean, you can go up and down the list as which guy is going to be that guy. Is it Audric Estime? It could be a number of guys, but that would be one of my big questions. And I think somebody else would probably say, what about, right guard, and could Cesar Ruiz hold up at that position? But to me, I think it's running back. I need to know who is going to carry the workload next to Travis. I mean, Travis can't do it by himself for 17 games. So I think that would be a massive question mark. I'm not worried about the receivers. I'm not worried about Tyler. I think that situation is pretty solid to me, but I would say number one to me would be behind Travis. On a defense, I want to know if, Jonas Saker is ready to fill that star position, that position left behind by Alante Taylor. I mean, are they going to be okay with just having Jonas Saker there? I mean, I know people want to talk about Quincy and Kool-Aid at outside corner, but I think those guys are maturing. But to me, I need to know on that side of the ball, is Jonas going to be able to carry that workload? And to me, it's a great question mark. It's a great thing to ask a question about. But I think, in my opinion, I think Jonas is going to be fine at that position, giving him an entire offseason to prep for it and get ready for it.
Let's take those in reverse order. We'll start with the defensive side. Like, did we underestimate, or did I perhaps underestimate Alante Taylor? I thought he was a nice player, but I didn't consider his departure to be significant. Now, he got paid when he went to Tennessee, but like, what do you feel like we maybe underestimated his value to the defense?
The one thing with him is he struggled as a pass defense. I mean, he made a lot of penalties. He committed some penalties. He gave up the most yards out of the slot last year, but he was good at times very good at tackling. He was good at getting in the backfield and creating pressure on the quarterbacks or TFL. So that's what his specialty is, I think, in my opinion. It didn't really have many interceptions, but he did have a lot of TFLs and sacks. So to answer your question, I don't think he was underrated. I just think he was okay. So that's why I think Jonas Saker steps in and fills in that void and does a little bit more. Because his ability, the way he was running in that secondary last year and making plays, making, pass deflections, tackles, some saving plays that stopped the team from getting a touchdown and they would kick a field goal instead. So I think he's prepped for it. I think he saw a lot of like what he could do last year from playing the safety position. And I think that's why I think he'll be much better than Alante was.
And then as far as the running back spot goes, I don't know if I've ever seen a series of press conferences quite like the Kellen Moore, Mickey Loomis, Alvin Kamara series of press conferences in the spring and early summer, because nothing was happening. He's under contract. He was showing up at things that he usually didn't show up for. But, like, do you have a timeline on when they're going to make a decision on this?
I don't think they have to make a decision. He's under contract.
Right.
It doesn't hurt them to, like, keep him on the team. And you cutting him doesn't make any difference. I mean, like, you already have him under contract. The best thing to do is not restructure his contract. Doing that would be foolish. That would be the worst thing they could do. It's already taken care of. You let it, finish out his career pretty much after this season and see what he could do. He could be a good limited role player. He could probably has a little, if you don't play him that much and give him the amount of carries or touches that he's supposed to have at this point in his career, I think he could be slightly effective for them in their offense, or they're in a slot, whether you're swinging them out in the screen, anything, doesn't have to have 25 touches a game, 12 to 15, maybe a game, and he's just fine. I mean, you don't have to overuse him when you have Travis and two other backs you're possibly going to keep on the roster.
Who's got a better chance to make an impact on this team, Audric Estime or Kendre Miller?
Audric Estime, in my opinion, just because of what I saw at the end of last season. Man, what a hard-nosed runner. I mean, he'll run you over, and he got some pass-catching skills. So I always look at the way how players finished last season. Whenever you were given an opportunity, you took a ton of advantage of it. The entire team was pretty much hurt on offense. Tyler was throwing to guys you never heard of, and then Audric Estime is one of the guys in there filling in that role for the injured running back room, and he's making plays against the Titans. He's making plays in the final few games of the season, and it's just like, why not? I'd love to keep him. I'd love to keep a back like that on my team and who can, contribute in so many different ways.
Sharief Ishaq is our guest, WDSU down in New Orleans, talking a little black and gold as the Saints are just a little over a week and a half from reporting to training camp, where they'll get things started for year number 2 of the Kellen Moore era. What's your biggest question about Kellen Moore entering year number 2? Do you have one? I thought he made some strides in some of the things that he did in his first season. I expected some bumps in the road, but now it's about time to kind of get things pushed in the right direction. It's not about a rebuild anymore. It's about taking the group of players that you've got and making them a winning football team.
Yeah, I think it's continue elevating the offense and continue showing a little bit more, showing, that he's an offensive mastermind. I think continue to implement his type of style of play in offense with Tyler Ishaq. Now that this is Tyler Ishaq's first full season as a starting quarterback, since you got a taste of what they could do together in the final 9 games of the year. So I would say that he needs to continue showing strides in that department. Being an offensive-minded coach, you need to see more. You want to see the creativity continue. You want to see him open up the playbook and let Tyler Ishaq unleash the ball a little bit more. So I think that's, what we want to see. We think anyone, the fans and the media covering our team, you'd love to see, like, how this, new age of football that Kellen Moore is very well adapted to, works out with this type of team that he's put together, which, is a team that's fast and has got some size on offense. So I expect him to continue, trending in that right direction. It's all about, Hunt. You got to continue trending in that right direction. It's not saying, they're going to win 11, 12, 13 games. Trend to where you can get to that double-digit win season. If it's not this season, it's next season, and you continue giving the fans hope.
All right, last question here. We've been going through ESPN's list of the top 10 players in the NFL at each position, and we thought Eric McCoy was the Saints' best chance to get a player on the list, and he was not on their list. So does it concern you for the roster that ESPN's not going to have the Saints have a top 10 player at any position on the field?
I think if Eric had stayed healthy for the last 2 years, he'd be on that list. I think it's just the best ability is availability. He just hasn't been available much in the last couple seasons. That's unfortunate because he's a top-notch center when he's healthy on the field. But, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think they like the underdog role. I think they like to be under the radar. They know what they're putting together, and they're fine with it. It's a young team. It's fairly a young team, Hunt. Like, look at almost every single position, and it's almost your important positions. They're almost young. I mean, Tyler's young. I mean, I still think Travis is young. You got a lot of these receivers are pretty young. Offensive line, your 2 cornerstone offensive linemen are very young. But you look at the defense, you got a lot of young players, a couple veterans. It's a young team. I mean, it's understandable not to have, any players in the top 10. Alvin, entering his final year, probably his career. Cam Jordan, final year of his career. We're not going to see those guys in the top 10 anymore. That's just how it is. It's just the honest truth.
All right, Sharief, we'll give you a week off. Next week we'll be in Tampa for SEC Media Days, so we'll be swamped with guests throughout the week there. But when we come back, Saints will be ready to put on the helmets, and we'll get to work for the season. So appreciate some time and enjoy a couple of weeks, and we'll talk in 2 weeks down the road.
Yep, you'll catch me right after the Mickey Loomis press conference. That 2 Tuesdays from now.
We like that. Thanks, man.
All right, man. See you in 2 weeks.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans. That's it, y'all. We got 3 days to finish out this week after today, and then we'll go to Tampa for Media Days, which is just a free-for-all. And then when we come back that Tuesday, Sharief will be coming from Mickey Loomis's press conference, and that's real football. So that's how quick it can go once you get through the stunning June of no baseball, which I believe Matt mentioned to Jay Johnson yesterday on AFR. I want to remind you about Gotro's Outdoor Power, GoTrosOnline.com, GoTrosOnline.com. Incredible deals throughout the month of July at Gotro's Outdoor Power. Been telling you about them all month long, but you still have time to get by their 2 locations, one on Airline Highway and, of course, one in Gonzales. 20% off MSRP on their Hustler commercial mowers, and 0% financing is available for 48 months. Thinking about, well, what kind of inventory they have of Hustler commercial mowers. They got the largest Hustler inventory in the state of Louisiana. They were the National Hustler Deal of the Year 2 of the last 3 years. So if you want 20% off MSRP on those Hustler commercial mowers, get on by and see them at Gotro's Outdoor Power. If you're looking for a mower to maintain your property, maybe the one that you've got, your lease is coming up, or it's just time to get a new one. Maybe you bought a new piece of property and you've never managed one that big before, but you need a new mower for it. Gotros is happy to help you out. 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, and of course in Gonzales. GoTrosOnline.com. That's Gotros Outdoor Power. We're chugging along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I want to remind you to come on out to Court to Table tonight. We'll have sports trivia at 8 o'clock. We'll be watching the MLB All-Star Game. You can win gift cards, eat great food, have great drinks. It's always a good time, so I hope you'll come out and see us on Burbank at Court to Table tonight for sports trivia. We got a lot to get to here on this edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Keith Carter, the Ole Miss athletic director, has said that Ole Miss could sue a couple of LSU players, and they may or they may not. LSU would be on the hook for that money likely. I'll talk about that coming up in about 15 minutes. In-depth chart, we'll look at LSU's wide receivers. A lot of wide receivers to get to at the top of hour number 2. And there are 11 Division I athletes that are filing a class action lawsuit against the NCAA for a 5th year of eligibility. How might that impact LSU? I've got some thoughts on that. We'll do that coming up in 45 minutes. So don't go anywhere. Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services, Boudreaux's Electrical Services, BoudreauxElectrical.com, BoudreauxElectrical.com. Be proactive. Be proactive when it comes to that Generac home standby generator, and make sure that you've got it installed before the storm comes through. The great part about having that generator is if you were to lose power for 2 or 3 days, your house will stay air conditioned. The fridge will stay on. The lights will stay on. That's very nice. And even if you leave when that hurricane's coming through, you don't want to come back to a hot, dark house with a fridge full of spoiled goods. We've all done that if you're in South Louisiana, right? Don't do it. Folks at Boudreaux's Electrical can get you that Generac home standby generator. They give you the peace of mind to know that's not going to happen for you. You can give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. The Gonzales location is a 225 number. It's 393-89. Call Neil and Melissa. They've been at this for 40 years, and they can help you out. They know how to service people of South Louisiana. They're local. You'll have a local team of installers, local maintenance team to come out and do the maintenance if there is a mechanical issue, and you got a local number to call if there is an issue that you may have with that Generac home standby generator, so that when the power goes off, you're ready for the power to come back on. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services, online at BoudreauxElectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Tuesday show is always brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Let's shift the conversation to LSU. Glen West, senior writer over at the Bengal Tiger, part of the 0-3 team, with us on Tuesdays. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Let's talk some baseball. You had a chance to speak with Jay Johnson after the dust settled on the Major League Baseball draft over the weekend. It was an entertaining weekend and an impactful weekend for the LSU baseball program. What was your general takeaway in the head coach's vibe after it was all over?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that he, just from the 15-minute conversation I was able to have with him on Monday morning, I think one of the bigger takeaways, to be quite honest with you, is that he's kind of glad this is over. I mean, this is a years long process to get these players to campus, these high school recruits in particular. But really, these last several weeks, man, they were really pushing in this class because I think they felt like they had a good shot with some of these players, and I don't know that they felt like they had this good of a shot with the kind of talent they were able to bring in. But he's ready to get to work. I mean, like we talked about it, with the portal class and with the freshmen, and now with the high school signees. But all the energy that would have gone into postseason and Omaha and potentially taking that 2026 team further along in the season was put squarely on this offseason, squarely on the month of June and July, and they were able to come out really smelling like roses from a portal perspective and now from a high school class perspective. And I think the main takeaway was they're ready to now just get to work. They're ready to have this class all fully join them. I think they have 11 of them right now that are on campus. They'll get the other ones here, enrolled and starting their summer program pretty soon, and so they're ready to get rocking and rolling though over there at the Alex Box.
So, from your perspective, and it's kind of a big picture question, but like, how much of this draft impact are you going to feel in 2027 in the first season following it, and how much of this is just restocking the shelves and laying the foundation for the program moving forward?
Yeah, I think there's probably a balance there of both that they want to try to accomplish. I wrote a piece this morning about maybe like 4 or 5 guys that I could see, instantly impacting this team in terms of, roles. I think Malachi Washington in center field is going to be one to watch. I think Dominic Santorelli from a left-handed power bat perspective will be one to watch. He's kind of gotten that, Jared Jones comp from the left side, but I think he looks even more, polished of a power hitter than even Jones did coming out of high school. So, Jones had 160 at bats as a freshman in 2023. I could see Santorelli finding a way to finagle 100 plus at bats here in his freshman year. I think he's got that kind of talent and that kind of home run power that LSU's going to want to get him on the in the lineup some. But really, the pitching staff I think is where I think you'll see LSU really want to try to turn their focus to. I think that there's a couple that really stand out. Lucas Naraki, the left-handed pitcher, Colby Stringer, a right-handed pitcher, and Cooper Sides, a right-handed pitcher, are 3 guys that, at least in my opinion, have the potential and the talent to really impact this pitching staff in year one. But certainly you build for the future too. I mean, these are guys for the most part that are going to be 3-year players. I mean, like there's not a whole bunch of draft eligible sophomores in this class. Yeah. And so building around this core group, I think in 2 or 3 years, if we look back on this weekend or this past weekend, and LSU's had another great run of 2 or 3 seasons here under Coach Johnson, I think we'll point back to this weekend as being a huge leaping point for this next run of the Jay Johnson era.
Certainly feels that way. It's a complete 180 from what we saw last year at this time, where they were absolutely gutted in a smaller signing class by the MLB draft. Glen West is our guest. You can follow him on Twitter. You can also see him over there at the On3, the Bengal Tiger over there with Shea Dixon and company. All right, you're looking at SC Media Days. LSU's going to bring Whit Weeks. They're going to bring Trey Green. They will bring TJ Daugherty as well. What were your reaction to seeing those 3 names?
Yeah, I think Green was one that we maybe had talked about the last couple of weeks as a guy that kind of just made a ton of sense. I think Whit Weeks was, one that kind of also made sense but, because he was brought there last year. I wasn't entirely sure they would go that route again. But look, I think that what you're going to get with Weeks and with Daugherty. Those are 2 veteran players who have, been very well media trained at this point. I think Weeks in particular is a guy that has a very infectious personality when he's talking about football. So it makes sense that they're going to bring him along. I would have loved to have seen Jordan Seaton or Ty Benefield, to be honest with you. I think one of those 2 would have really crushed at media days, but I think Trey is going to do a great job too. But would have loved to have seen one of the, the big impact offensive linemen or safety kind of join that class. But Kiffin trusts Daugherty. That's a player that he's very familiar with the last couple of years at Ole Miss. And we had somebody kind of joking on our board that he could have just gone full troll mode and brought Daugherty, Uman Mielen, and Winnie Watkins with them as kind of the trio. But it kind of got a chuckle out of me. But I think that they did pretty good here with this trio, and it'll be fun to see kind of what they say next week.
Any reaction to Sam Levitt not being involved in that?
It's not a super shock to me. I mean, he's, we like I said, we haven't seen him much, outside of a couple of spring practices, and they haven't made him available to us at any point in the offseason. So I wasn't exactly sure if this was the time to roll him out. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk to him a couple times in the preseason. But this is kind of, this wasn't a huge shock to me that they decided not to bring Levitt along, because I think a big part of his potential line of questioning would be just centered around how healthy he is, and just not sure how much LSU really wants those questions to being asked right now. I think they feel like he's 100% and that he'll be ready to go in fall camp, but I would imagine that we get a chance to talk to him a couple times in fall camp, but not really shocked that he's not a part of this trio here going to SEC Media Days.
Anything new on basketball?
No, I mean outside of Will Wade going to visit a 2027 top 10 player in the country at a Puma event this last weekend, they're keeping things pretty hush hush over there. I do think it's an interesting little nugget that they went and watched Reese Alston, who's the point guard that they went and saw. Wade stayed multiple days to go watch him at this event, and so we'll see kind of what happens out of that. He did an interview with our Jamie Shaw at On3 in Rivals, just talking about if is reclassifying something that's on the table, and he said essentially yes, it's something that is a couple of these schools that are recruiting me right now are asking if that's something that he would be open to, and so we'll see if anything has any traction there. I think the bigger point here is that LSU's turning over every corner and every stone to try to find some lead guards going into this next season, which they desperately need right now, with only a couple that I think really kind of fit that profile on the roster right now.
We shall certainly see. Are we going to see you in Tampa next week?
I will be there.
All
I'll be
right.
driving on Wednesday and driving on Friday, so we'll have a nice 18-hour car ride there and back. But the middle part should be a lot of fun on Thursday, getting to talk to Coach Kiffin and those three players. But we'll be there.
When you arrive on Wednesday, I'll buy you a beer after that long ride. How's that sound?
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's
Hunt.
Glen West. You come on the show enough. I think I can splurge for what in Tampa's probably going to be a $7 beer, but we'll make it work.
All right. Sounds good.
That's Glen West, senior writer over at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 network. Appreciate him giving us a little time here on this Tuesday, talking all things Tigers. I'm going to talk a little bit about basketball coming up in about 25 minutes, because it's not LSU related directly, but there is some news that makes some sense that we'll get into with LSU basketball. When we come back, though, I want to finish the hour. Keith Carter's the Ole Miss athletic director. He said that Ole Miss might sue some LSU players. I will tell you what I think of that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. It can be something simple. It can be a tub-to-shower conversion. Maybe you've got one of those big, bulky jacuzzi tubs, or you've got a dysfunctional tub. You've got a tub that's old and dingy, or you just have a tub that you stand in every day to take a shower. Why? How about you take that out and put in a gorgeous new glass walk-in shower? You have that option with One Bath and Closets. I asked David when we sat down last, how long does it take to do one of these tub-to-shower conversions? So, well, you never know job to job, but I can say confidently that you're looking at, generally speaking, a 3 to 5 day job. If there's some unknown obstacle that they get to once they pull that tub out, perhaps it could be longer. But you're looking at a pretty quick job. And if you're looking for financing, they've got it. 0% up to 18 months. Same as cash. So if you want a tub-to-shower conversion, get rid of that old tub, put in a new gorgeous shower to change the aesthetic and the functionality of your bathroom. Contact David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. You can find him online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remind you about First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com. FABT.com is that website, but you don't need to go to the website. Just stop in. If you're in Southeast Louisiana, you can't miss them. 25 branches across the southeast corner of our state. Been at it for 116 years, since 1910. If you're looking for a local banking option that makes decisions locally, whose calls are fielded locally, First American Bank and Trust. If you're looking for a commercial loan, First American Bank and Trust. If you're looking for a personal loan, First American Bank and Trust. And the decisions made on your loans are made by folks that are here in Southeast Louisiana. You see them every day. They're part of the community. First American Bank and Trust is part of the community. So if you are sick of being treated like a line item, you can't get somebody in a call center in Chicago or Atlanta, do banking with First American Bank and Trust. 25 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana, and you'll feel that community pull. And they've got the resources to help you out with 25 locations in 116 years in our communities. First American Bank and Trust, online at fabt.com. So I wanted to get to this at the end of the hour here. Keith Carter is the athletic director at Ole Miss. They are doing their statewide caravan where they stop by at all the cities. And the Clarion Ledger talked to Keith Carter and spoke to him about the buyout agreements for Prince William and Devin Harper. And essentially what this boils down to is that those two players signed revenue-sharing agreements with Ole Miss. And then, after that, jumped into the portal and went to LSU. So, ultimately, those two players are responsible with paying the buyout from the revenue sharing. For Harper, it's just north of $400,000. For Prince William, it's just south of $600,000. It's almost $1 million. It's $997,000. $1 million bucks these two players owe the university. And the way that works is the 18, 19, 20, 22-year-olds don't generally cut those checks. The new schools cut those checks back. Obviously, LSU owes Ole Miss significantly for Lane Kiffin, and there's no reporting anywhere that suggests that LSU is behind on those payments. But these have not been made, and they're past due. And Carter told the Clarion Ledger that Ole Miss is considering suing to recoup those funds. That would be an option, Carter said to the Clarion Ledger, going and asking a court to get that money for you. Contracts are with the players. LSU could pay that on behalf of the players, so we're kind of exploring that right now. Carter did not want to get into the specific dollar amounts, but said that they're pursuing this in court potentially. And here's my take on the matter. If you sign a contract, you should live up to the contract. So if Devin Harper and Prince William signed revenue sharing agreements that bind them to that school, and if they break that, then there's got to be a contractual buyout payment. I think that payment should go back the other way. Now, there's a feeling that LSU may just not be paying it because who's going to tell us not to? And if the court does, well, then you have to. But the court hasn't told them to yet, so they're just holding on to the funds. That's not how I would do it, but I understand that we're in the wild, wild west at this point. There is a thought that Ole Miss may not pursue the legal battle because it's bad PR to sue college football players. At which point, I would kind of push back and go, I don't think it is. I think if you are recruiting a player and other school is recruiting a player, I'll just throw two names out there. If Ole Miss is recruiting a guy and Notre Dame's recruiting a guy, and Notre Dame says, if you go there, they might sue you. If I'm Ole Miss, I would go, yeah, we might if you sign a contract for revenue sharing that binds you to the university, not an NIL deal with a third party, not a car dealership. If you are bound to us via revenue sharing, our only real avenue to try to keep you in the fold here, if you sign that contract for revenue sharing and then leave, we are going to go after the money. Now, the new school is probably going to pay it, but we are going to go after the money. I don't think that's some sort of massive detriment to Ole Miss in a negotiation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these kids are just looking for other things, but this seems pretty black and white to me. If LSU is on the hook for these two players to pay $1 million to Ole Miss, I would suggest it probably needs to go that way. Now, look, LSU holding on to an extra $1 million is no sweat off my back, I promise you. But I'm not going to sit here and stump for it. I'm not going to criticize Ole Miss or LSU for tampering with players. That is just what goes on. It's not illegal. According to the law, It's hard to prove. If you do it the right way, through the right channels, go for it. Assemble your roster. We've got ridiculous rules and lack thereof in place. Go assemble your roster. I'm not going to clamor for teams to just stop tampering. You got to put a team together, right? And I'm not stupid enough to think we can control that. However, I am going to draw the line if you sign a contract with a revenue sharing agreement with a school and then bail. I think we got to be making that whole. That's the way I see it. Now, I am also willing to admit that there are a lot of things that go on, especially legally this day and age in collegiate athletics, that I don't know everything about because I'm not a lawyer. So if there's some sort of loophole in these contracts that I'm not privy to, if there's some sort of different time frame that LSU is allowed to work through on this, or there's something I'm unaware of, I'm willing to come back, as I've done multiple times, and say, yeah, I didn't really get that, but here's what I know now, new opinion. But this, to me, sounds like two players who signed agreements to stay at Ole Miss, who decided not to stay at Ole Miss. More power to them. Go. But you're under contract. You got to pay the buyout. LSU's got to pay the buyout. That's the way I see it. And if LSU's defense is, well, come get it if you want it, like we're not going to write the check, I'm not going to sit here and say that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I'm just not. We'll see how it shakes out. Again, it's not my money, and it all feels like funny money at this point, tossing stuff around. But I'm not gonna go to bat for this. I think that LSU has a better head football coach than Ole Miss. I think Lane Kiffin's going to do some really great things at LSU. I think some of the things he did at Ole Miss may be difficult to sustain under new. There are plenty of things that I think that I favor Ole Miss in this quote unquote. I favor LSU in this quote unquote breakup on. This one right here, not really. I'm going to need the money to get sent towards Oxford. That's just my thought on the matter. Maybe y'all think I'm completely out of bounds here, but it's just the way I feel about the situation. So we'll end hour number one right there. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us on this Tuesday, brought to you by Immense Networks, Cloud IT Technology. We'll come back, talk some LSU football, wide receivers after SportsCenter.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
And after I tell you about Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com, swingeasygcbr.com. You can go check out the website and kind of see what the vibe is at Swing Easy, but the best way to do it is to actually just go. Segan at Perkins, stop on by. They're in the corner of that strip mall right there. It's such a cool setup. You walk in, you see the seating area right there in the front, in the waiting room area. It got a fridge stocked full of cold beer, seltzers, got some wine there as well. You go into one of your private bays. You slide the door open, walk in. You got the simulator right there in front of you. Got the comfortable seating, the couches, the chairs right there. Television can be turned on. The turtle box is ready to crank some tunes. And you can play golf any which way you'd like. If you'd like to card a score at Pebble Beach, get after it. If you'd like to hit 30 minutes or an hour's worth of balls on the driving range, have at it. You want to play a match against two of your buddies? Great. You want to take unlimited mulligans out where they give away that green jacket every April? You can do that too. It's all there. It's at Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge.